Welcome back to From the Bookshelf for another book club episode. Today we are going to be finishing City of Bones. We are going to be looking at chapter 23 as well as the epilogue of the book, and we're going to finish it up. I know it's been a long run here in part 11 of the series. If you haven't watched all of the episodes in this series, go ahead and click the playlist up here, and we'll link all of the other ones for you so you can get caught up on that. And don't forget to like and comment as well as subscribe to the channel so you can get notified of all new book club episodes, as well as my weekly downloads on Saturday and anything new going on the channel. So let's get started with chapter 22, Valentine. So we're going to start on page 436. So in this, Valentine's there, and Jace is basically doing everything that Valentine wants. He's doing everything. Clary, I think at this point, doesn't actually know that Valentine is Jace's father, or that we believe Jace is his son. And she has this dagger. Valentine wants to see it, and Jace takes it from her. And she gets mad at him, rightly so. All he said was, "You still don't understand, Clary," with a sort of deferential care that made her feel sick to her stomach. He went to Valentine and handed him the dagger. "Here you go, father." He's telling Clary she doesn't understand, but I think she does better than him. She understands because she knows who Valentine is to her, and I think a part of her doesn't believe that Valentine's his father, even though it seems like he is, and he says that he is, and everybody believes he is for like 2 more books, but he's not. But the point is Jace is trying to say that, oh, you don't understand, Claire, you don't really understand. But I think she understands better than Jace does, because she understands the situation a little bit better, that Valentine isn't this benevolent person, and Jace only believes he is because he wants to believe, because he wants his father back so bad that he's willing to believe anything he tells him, right? Let's move on to page 439. So Jace and Clary are talking, and Jace is telling her that Valentine brought her mother here not to hurt her. My father, Valentine, only found out about it afterward. So he's saying that, okay, let's, so basically Jace is saying this. This is what Valentine has told him. "No," said Jace. "No, Hodge was the one who wanted the mortal cup all along. He was the one who sent the Raveners after your mother. My father, Valentine, only found out about it afterward and came to stop him. He brought your mother here to heal her, not to hurt her." And you believe that crap? And it is. It's a load of crap, a load of BS. And the fact that Jace automatically believes this because his father tells him it's true just makes him delusional. Like, he's at this point where he's willing to throw out everything he knows, everything he believes in, simply because the man who raised him for the first 10 years of his life is now all of a sudden alive. He is willing to throw out everything he's ever stood for, everything he's ever believed in. He's, like the Lightwoods and all of that, that's his family, but he's willing to like push that away because this man who he sees as his father is alive, and he's saying this. It must be true. Jace is delusional, and it's sad that he's willing to believe that just because this man that he believes is his father is telling him it. So, Valentine is talking to Clary. He's telling her that you've been told these stories about me and how I'm the villain, right? And he says this. "It is simple, really. The story you heard was true in some of its parts, but not in others. Lies mixed in with a little truth, as you said. The fact is that Michael Whalen is not and has never been Jace's father. Whalen was killed during the uprising. I assumed Michael's name and place when I fled the city, glass city, with my son. It was easy enough. Wayland had no real relations, and his closest friends, the Lightwords, were in exile. He himself would have been in disgrace for his part in the uprising, so I lived that disgraced life quietly enough, alone with Jace on the Wayland's estate. I read my books, raised my son, and bided my time. So he's basically trying to explain his actions. Like, Michael was killed during the uprising. I assumed his name and his identity and lived in exile on his manor estate. But he's trying to tell Clary that you've heard these stories that I'm the villain. Now let me tell you why that's not true. But he doesn't address his actions and the things he's done to make him a villain. All he does is tell her how he assumed Michael's identity and became Michael Wayland and raised his son, Jace. But that doesn't negate the things he's done. And Clary has also heard from Luke that when the Fairchild Manor burned down, it wasn't just her grandparents in the fire. It was both an adult male and an infant, which is why the Clade believed that Valentine and his and Justin's son were dead, right? So he murdered her grandparents, and if that man and child weren't Valentine and his son, then who were they? Could it be Michael Wayland and his son? Maybe he didn't die in the uprising. Maybe Valentine killed him to assume his identity. That's a reasonable explanation as well, right? But he doesn't address any of this. He just says, well, Michael died, so I just assumed his identity so I could raise my son. Doesn't that make me a good guy? Like, no. No, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't address anything you did. It doesn't address any of the horrible things you did. It just shows that you stole someone's life because they were dead. Like, it doesn't make you any less responsible for the things you've done. Reality check. Okay, so we're going to move on to page 447. So Luke comes into the room. He sees Valentine, he sees Jace, and he finds out that Jace is Valentine's son, or believes he's Valentine's son. I know, I have to keep saying that because he's not Valentine's son. But he believes that, and Luke says his name. Jonathan, he whispers. Jace's mouth twisted. Don't you call me that, he said fiercely, his gold eyes blazing. I'll kill you myself if you call me that. It seems like a huge overreaction to someone using your name. Like, that is the only name Luke has ever known this kid by. Like, Jocelyn's son was named Jonathan. That's it. The only name he ever had. That's it. Jonathan. So why is he so angry that he's willing to threaten to kill someone for using it? I mean, does that make any sense? Like, why is he so mad? Is it because Luke's a downworlder? Is it because he's just all of a sudden so angry? I don't know, is it because Luke's a downworlder? But he's never had an issue with downworlders before getting back together with dear old dad. So, I don't know. Weird, right? Like, who reacts like that to someone using their name? Like, your actual name. It's not like it was some mean nickname. It was just your name. Settle down, Jace. Okay, so we're going to move to the next page, to 448. Luke and Valentine are fighting each other, and Luke's losing, and Claire's afraid he's going to die, right? Clary says they're going to kill each other. Jace's eyes were nearly black. You don't understand, he said. This is how it's done. He broke off and sucked in a breath as Luke slipped past Valentine's guard, catching him a blow across the shoulder. Blood flowed freely, straining the cloth of his white shirt. So this truly doesn't make sense to me. Like, this is how it's done. So, like, you don't understand. This is how it's done. You don't understand. You don't understand that all of a sudden killing a down roller is okay now that I know Valentine's my father. Like, this is how what's done. How you murder someone? Because the Accords still exist. Killing a downworlder for no reason is still illegal. So just because you find out Valentine's your father doesn't mean the Accords no longer matter. Doesn't mean you can go around killing any downworlder you want. I mean, this is never how it's been done for you. Like, you don't do this. Like, you've never done this. You've never gone around killing downworlder for literally no reason. And yet, all of a sudden, this is how it's done? Like, could he have brainwashed you that thoroughly in less than a day? Or did he just say, oh, I'm your father, do whatever I say, okay? Like, I feel like Jace, like the Jace we know and have come to know in this book, would not act like this. Like, it's just so weird that all of a sudden he's perfectly fine with murdering downworlders without cause. Yeah? So we're going to move on to page 452. So Clary is trying to help Luke because Luke is her family. Luke is like a father to her. He is like the only father she's ever really known. And she's asking for help, like a cloth or something that she can stem the bleeding. And Valentine, Daddy Dearest, says this. This man is an enemy of our family, an enemy of the Clave. We are hunters, and that means sometimes we are killers. Surely you understand that. Demon hunters, said Clary. Demon killers, not murderers. There's a difference. He is a demon, Clarissa. A demon with a man's face. I know how deceptive such monsters can be. So, I mean, he's an enemy of your family. Why? Because you pissed you off once? You're literally the only one in your family who has an issue with him. Like Jace, but right now Jace doesn't really count. Because he's just whatever Valentine says. But the point is, like, nobody else in your family has an issue with Luke. Your wife doesn't. Your daughter doesn't. Anyone in the Clave doesn't. Like, the only one who thinks he's evil is you. He's not an enemy of the family, and it's like, we kill monsters. He's not a monster simply because he's a werewolf. But we see this as part of, like, Valentine's, like, psychosis since his father died, is like, anyone who's a downworlder is evil because downworlders killed his father. And it's just like, I don't know, it's crazy. It's like the fact that Jace also believes this, and he says something like this, and people are so readily to believe it. People like Jace, who don't normally get suckered into this kind of thing, is like, Valentine, like, who would listen to him? But so many people do. How is Jace listening to him? He's smarter than that, right? So page 453, Clary is trying to talk to Jace because she's afraid that Valentine is going to kill Luke. And she doesn't want that, right? And so she tries to say something to him, and he says, don't. His fingers dug painfully into her arm. He smelled of wine and metal and sweat. Don't talk to me. But I said don't talk. He shook her hard. She stumbled, regained her footing, and looked up to see Valentine standing, gloating over Luke's crumpled body. So Jace doesn't want to hear what she has to say. And this makes me wonder, is the reason he doesn't want to hear what she has to say is because he knows if he listens to her, he might realize that things aren't what they seem, that she'll start making sense, that maybe he's gone a little crazy and he needs somebody to question what he's doing and talk to him and tell him how stupid he's being for him to realize it. Does he know that that's the outcome if she talks to him and he doesn't want to hear it because he doesn't want to get he doesn't want to let go of that dream just yet, the dream of having his father back. Because if Clary starts talking, it's gonna shatter. So does he know that she's gonna like talk to him and make him realize he's being stupid? Because he's being stupid. Like, that's the only way to describe it. He's being stupid. Stupid Jace. Stupid Jace. Okay, so we're gonna move to page 455. Okay, so we see here Jace's ability to move super, super fast. If you go back several episodes, we talked about this ability Jace has, right? So let's take a look at it. So the blade slammed home into the floor. Luke was no longer there. Jace, having moved faster than Clary would have thought possible, even for a Shadowhunter, had knocked him out of the way, sending him sprawling to the side. Jace stood facing his father over the quivering hilt of the sword, his face white, but gaze steady. And so we see Jace has this inhuman, or inhumanly, in Shadowhunterly, I don't know, inhumanly fast ability. Faster than any Shadowhunter. He literally got to Luke so fast he was able to stop Valentine's blade from hitting him. Like, Valentine was super close, throwing a blade at him. And somehow Jace was able to get there first and knock him out of the way. And yet, he was somehow not fast enough to stop Clary from going through that stupid door. I'm supposed to believe that? Like, he was able to get to Luke before he was killed, but he wasn't able to stop Clary, like, half a foot in front of him from opening and going through a door? I know, back to that, but it's so weird how, like, these abilities come out and you see them and they're awesome, and then when you're rereading, you're like, but he's able to do this. Why isn't he doing that here? Why isn't he stopping her from doing something stupid here? When he literally has the capability, as we've seen here. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move to page 457. Valentine is talking about some of the things he did in the past. Clary says this: if you cared about Jace, if you cared about blood, you wouldn't have killed his grandparents. You murdered innocent people. Clary cut in, furious. Innocent, snapped Valentine. No one is innocent in a war. They sided with Jocelyn against me. They would have let her take my son from me. Okay, so what Valentine is saying here is he killed Clary's grandparents because they sided with their own daughter. The Fairchilds sided with their daughter, their actual biological daughter, over Valentine, the guy she married that they're not actually related to. So he killed them because they were loyal to their actual daughter. I mean, does that sound stupid or what? I mean, it'd be one thing if it was the Morgensterns and they sided with Jocelyn, but it's literally Jocelyn's parents. He killed them because Jocelyn's parents sided with Jocelyn. I mean, that's the right thing for parents to do, is to side with their children. Their children. Their child. Valentine is not that to them. He's just the man their daughter married. Why would they choose him over their own child? And also the idea that there's no innocent people in war, that's also not true, because lots of innocents are killed in a war. Like, that's what happens. Innocents are killed during the war. Like, if someone's not fighting in the war and they're killed, they're innocents, right? Especially, like, children and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, just the idea no one's innocent in war. Like, shut up, Valentine. Like, you make no sense. Literally make no sense. Like, just stop trying to act like you're righteous. You just come off as self-righteous. And that's bad. Right? Righteous is good. Self-righteous is bad. I'm sure you already knew that. I don't know why I was explaining that. So let's move on to page 461. So in this, Valentine has the upper hand for a moment. He's about to kill Luke. Valentine is about to kill Luke. So what we see is Alaric, Luke's second in command, showing up at the last second and dying to save Luke's life, right? He shows up out of nowhere and saves Luke's life at the expense of his own. And this is what Valentine says in response. And this is how you repay the unquestioning loyalty you bought so cheaply, Lucien, he said, by letting them die for you. He was backing up, his eyes still on Luke. And so he's basically saying that he has the loyalty of the werewolves, and he's just sitting there letting them die for him. One, there's no way Luke could have stopped Alaric from doing what he did. Absolutely no way he could have known he was going to come into the room at that exact moment, jump in front of that blade and die to save Luke. Like, Luke had no way of knowing that was going to happen. Nobody had any way of knowing that was going to happen. So blaming Luke for that is just dumb. And two, it's hypocritical of Valentine to even say that. How many people have you gotten involved in your crusade to destroy the Downworld and have died for you? Like these young 20-something-year-old shadow hunters who died for this cause that Valentine believed in, that died trying to hold up his ideals, died basically for him. And yet he's over here saying this to Luke, who actually had nothing to do with what happened. Like, he wouldn't have asked Alaric to do that. If he had known he was going to do that, he would have tried to stop him, because that's who Luke is. Valentine, on the other hand, would have let 100, 1,000 people die for him, because he doesn't actually care about people. Hypocrite. And he doesn't give a shit. And he doesn't give a crap about anything. Anything or anyone. Not even his own children. Just gonna leave that there for you. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the epilogue, which is The Ascent Beckons. So we're gonna go to 476. So let me read real quick. So Jace hadn't told them being Alec and Isabel, that Hodge had betrayed them, Clary thought. Not sure how she felt about that. Then again, if Jace was trying to spare Isabel confusion and disappointment, maybe she shouldn't interfere. So, I mean, here's this thought. Like, she's all upset. Why wouldn't Jace, like, tell them about Hodge? He betrayed them. And my first thought is, Clary, how did you feel when you thought Luke had betrayed you? Luke had turned his back on you, that Luke wanted nothing to do with you. Yes, it turns out that he was doing it to protect her, but how did you feel when all that was happening? I mean, that's essentially how they would feel to learn about Hodge, because he was like that kind of figure to them. Not as much to the father figure point as Luke is to Clary, but he was a huge part of their life. They trusted him, they cared about him, and he betrayed them. So, I mean, how did you feel? How do you think they'll feel? I mean, it's unfair of you because you hate him and you didn't have the feelings for him that way. But if it was Luke who had actually betrayed everybody like that, would it destroy you? Would it, like, how would that feel? How would that hurt? Like, how would that betrayal be? So that's what they would go through. So of course he's trying to protect them and save them from that pain. Of course they'll find out eventually, but he's trying to, like, lessen it now and make it easier later, right? Okay, so we're gonna go to page 479. There's two things on this page that'll be it. So let's start with Clary's talking to Alec. She's trying to apologize for the things he said about Jace saying he'd never kill a demon and that kind of thing. And she says to him, like, even though it's true, what she said, that doesn't make it okay. Not everything that's true needs to be said. It was mean. And when I said Jace had told me you'd never killed a demon, he said it was because you were always protecting him and Isabel. It was a good thing he was saying about you. Jace can be a jerk, but he loves you, she was about to say and stopped. Never said a bad word about you to me, ever, I swear. This concept here that just because it's true doesn't mean it needs to be said. It's very very like fairy, very fairy-like. In the fact that they can't lie. They don't have the ability to lie, but sometimes it's the truth twisted in such a way that it's not really the truth anymore, or it's not really what they mean, even if it is true. And I think that's kind of what this was Clary was telling her, well, Jace said you had never killed a demon before. And in the way she said it, it made it sound like Jace was saying he was kind of like a coward and he wasn't really up to being a shadow hunter and that kind of thing. But that's not the truth. And that's also not what she meant, because she left out details. So it's like that whole concept. And I like here that they're kind of getting past that moment, and she's apologizing to him and he's apologizing to her, and it's kind of like the start of their friendship and giving them the stepping stone to move on in their relationship as friends and to get closer in that sense. It's just friends. But yeah, I think they're have this cute relationship. Like, the two of them are great together as friends, because, you know, he's Alec in the sense that his humor is basically non-existent, but Clary is constantly pushing his buttons in like the best way. And I don't know, we'll have to keep looking at it as we go through. So as we just saw, Clary is apologizing to Alec for the things she said concerning Jace and the demons. And so here we see Alec thanking Clary for lying about killing Abaddon, because she had told him that he had killed the demon, as he'd never killed a demon before. So she told him that as he was poisoned and possibly dying. But of course, now that he's better, Alec realizes that he didn't kill the demon. And he's saying, well, thank you for telling me that. And she says, you appreciate me lying to you? You did it out of kindness, he said. That means a lot. That you would be kind to me, even after how I treated you. I think Jace would have been pretty pissed at me for lying if he hadn't been so upset at the time, said Clary. Not as mad as he would be if he knew what I'd said to you before, though. So, this idea that, like, Alec is seen as, like, this sweetheart. He's so nice, you know. He's kind and he has this big heart. But here we see that Clary is the nice one. Like, she was nice to him and she treated him well and she was super kind to him. Like, he was in this horrible situation, possibly dying, and here she here is trying to tell him how, yeah, you killed the demon, you're the hero, even after he literally threatened to kill her. So I mean, she's the nice one. She's the literal nice one in the group. Proved. But that's it for City of Bones. There's a lot more books in the Shadowhunter series that we will eventually get to in our book club series. However, we will be taking a break from the Shadowhunter books, and we will be moving on to the first book in another one of my favorite series. It's also YA about vampires. It's called Vampire Academy. So we will be going through that book series starting on our next episode. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited to talk about it. If you wanted to check it out before we get started, if you haven't read it yet, or if you want to reread it before we get started, I will post a picture up here for you. Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. And that's fairly small. It's not too big, easy to get through. But super excited to start that with you. Let me know what you thought down below. Leave your comments, what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with. If I missed anything, leave them in the comments. Happy to talk to you about it. And until next time.